listening to Unfiltered with Mohammed Uncut, a podcast about personal growth and authentic leadership. If you're looking for tips on how to manage others, get ahead, and make your way up the corporate ladder, this is not the show for you. This podcast is about being of service to others, leading from the heart, and evolving into a better version of yourself. Each episode brings you motivated stories about unfiltered leadership and authentic leaders, those who involve others, use their influence to amplify diverse perspectives, and inspire teams to achieve collective results. If this sounds like you, keep listening. Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast, and we have an unfiltered leader with us today, Melinda Fouts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Mohammed. Appreciate it.
Really excited to talk to you and to hear about your leadership journey and what your definition of leadership is and how you help people. But just want to give my listeners a bit of background about who you are. So Melinda is the author of Cognitive Enlightenment. She is a psychotherapist, she's a coach, she's a speaker, and she leverages her strength and insights from her psychology background to help others increase their emotional intelligence and unlock their blind spots. Melinda's mission is to help individuals have more inner peace so we can then have more peace in the world. I love it. And Melinda is our unfiltered leader this afternoon. Welcome to the podcast, Melinda. So excited to chat with you.
I am so thrilled to be here with you as well.
Well, I wish that you and I could be sitting across from each other because you live in, it's near Aspen, Colorado, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and for people that don't know this, I'm a huge fanatic of mountains. I just see mountains and I get inspired, right? And so you get the advantage of seeing mountains every day. And I know that's something that inspires you.
Yes.
But something else that inspires you is helping people become better versions of themselves. And can you take me there and tell me, why do you do it day in, day out?
I love what I do, Mohammed. It is fulfilling. When we are suffering, when we're in conflict with ourselves, when we're in a tug of war with ourselves, when I work with people, we uncover that. When I wrote my book, it was inspired by attending a lecture by the Dalai Lama. I don't remember anything he said in the lecture, but at the end, a woman asked him, "Don't you just hate the Chinese for exiling you out of your own country?" And he did that beautiful smile of his, and he said, "Yes, they have exiled me out of my own country. And yes, they have burned sacred temples and sacred texts." And then he touches his heart. And he said, "So why would I let them in here and disrupt my inner peace?" I walked away that day going, I'm not going to let anyone or anything disrupt my inner peace. And that was the biggest challenge I took upon myself. And since that day, 15 years ago, it has been an amazing journey that I have really worked with clients, helping them uncover blind spots, patterns of behavior they aren't aware that they're doing when they get triggered in a blind spot, because we're always letting things outside of us disrupt our inner peace.
So true. And most of us really don't have that level of awareness. So we walk around, we're being pinged from one external stimuli to another, and those external stimuli are pinging us back and forth with what's happening on the inside. And there's this confusion of energy and emotion that we seldom can stop and figure out what is happening. That inner peace becomes that inner combustion of unknown and angst and anxiety. And all of a sudden, we're bouncing off emotional walls.
Right.
And we're bouncing off others and the energy of others. We become disruptive to ourselves, and we become disruptive to other people.
Right.
And, I can see when you were talking and explaining and that level of realization when when the Dalai Lama said that about the inner peace, I saw you breathe and I saw you relive that moment and I think that's why you do this daily, help people. Our inner peace is so sacred.
Right. And the only thing we have control of, people want to be in control of their lives. Well, the only thing you have control over is how you think, how you respond, and what you say. Everything is outside of your control. And that's why this was such a huge mission, because I remember I was, how many of us rehash dialogues? I have dialogues in our head, and half the time we're never going to have that conversation. And I mean, when I decided I was going to start this journey, I hike up the mountain every morning before I see clients. And I'm like having these dialogues, and something in me said, Melinda, stop, enjoy what you're doing right now. And so I really am a big proponent on a mindfulness practice of some sort. I'm a big proponent of this inner self-reflection and inner awareness. Like, why am I having all this mind chatter? And constantly listening to what's driving this, because you're in control of stopping all of this.
Right. And we're in control. You mentioned we're in control of our feelings, how we behave. We're in control of how we respond. And the third thing that you said we're in control of is?
Our thoughts, our words.
Our thoughts. And that's very, very powerful, because I think it often starts with our thoughts. So our thoughts drive what we're feeling and inevitably what we're doing. And as you talked about hiking up that mountain, we are hiking up a spiritual or an emotional mountain every single day that we are alive and we're healthy. We have the opportunity to take that hike and to really enjoy the scenery that we're blessed to experience every single day.
Right.
But that constant chatter deafens us. It blinds, it prevents us from being able to see the view at the summit. And really, we are at the summit of our existence and our experiences. Every single day that we can get up and we can look around us, we can interact with other people, even if our health is not completely healthy, we can choose to be healthy in the responses and the actions that we take if we can master our thoughts rather than let our thoughts master us.
That's right. That's exactly right.
When you said that example about the hiking, I'm going to share with you, last summer I was working in my garden. I love working in my garden. I can't go on a hike in the mountains. I'll have to work in my garden. And as I was working on Saturday afternoon, something was eating away at me saying, you should be inside blogging. You should be doing something. You've got to be more productive. And I said to myself, why do you want to be more productive? Why should you be elsewhere? And I responded, well, so that I could do more, get more, own more, right? Whatever. And what do you want to do when you have all this? Well, I want more time so that I could enjoy myself in the garden. And I stopped. And I thought, unbelievable. Here I am robbing myself of the opportunity to enjoy myself in the garden so that I could go and cause work that doesn't really have to get done then, so that I could just come back at a more elated, more polished, shinier moment to enjoy what I already have.
Right.
What could be more pristine than you walking up that mountain?
Right.
And having the energy, right?
Yes, and my survival depends on me paying attention. Because I've had a mountain lion encounter, and I've had many bear encounters.
Okay, can you go a little deeper? Can you explain what you mean by that?
The reason I have a big 130-pound dog is because hiking down the mountain one morning, I hear this big meow, and 20 feet up the hill from me on a rock is a mountain lion. And all I could think of was that scene in Out of Africa where Robert Redford tells Meryl Streep when she's facing a lion, don't run. And I'm like, okay, Robert Redford, I won't run. And it took everything in me. So I turned around because they attacked from behind. So I walked backwards. And the minute I couldn't see that mountain lion anymore, I ran as fast as I could.
Wow. Now that was one incredibly scary moment that you triumphed over. Part luck, part ingenuity, part intelligence, right? You listened, you watched the movie, you were mindful during that movie.
Well, we need to pay attention to our instincts.
Yes, right. But aren't we dealing with mountain lions every single day and we turn our back and we put down our guard?
Yes, we do.
Right? Well, so
Sometimes the
what,
mountain lion is our own self.
yeah. And what can you tell somebody like me whose mountain lion is always waiting for that weak moment to prey on me? What can I do to help me just be a little more in the present, to shut off that chatter?
Often there is a negative self-talk tape playing that keeps that chatter going. And the root of that tape is you're either not good enough, not worthy, or not lovable. And all this other chatter is maybe to build you up, maybe to prepare you so you somehow are good enough. So you don't catch the chatter at the root. So for instance, I have a technique called the STOP technique, and it's not an acronym. And that is, you have a launch sentence. When you catch the tape playing of the negative self-talk, you have a replacement sentence. I am more than good enough. And then you pontificate on that. And so I had a client, a CEO one time tell me that he didn't catch the tape playing at work. And I said, really? When someone gives you a compliment on something, what do you say in your mind? Oh, I could have done it better. Okay, that's the tape playing.
Right.
All right. And so that's when you say stop, and eventually you'll start hearing the root of it. So not all mental chatter is based on that negative self-tape, but most of it is.
Right. And it's important. You don't use the word pause. You don't use the word slow down. Stop.
Stop. The reason is because that every cell in your body believes that negative tape. So you say, stop, stop. What was my launch sentence? I forgot my launch sentence. Every time you keep saying stop, you're stopping the power of that tape.
Right. I mean, here's that mountain lion. I'm not going to say, oh, well, excuse me, Madam Mountain Lion, just give me a minute so I can pause. I can think about what I need to do here. I need to know, hey, wait a minute. Danger? Stop. You know, too much chatter. Too much, I'm not good enough. I should be doing something else. I'm not, comparing myself to others. I'm not doing as much. I need to say, stop. What do I do next?
Then you say your launch sentence. I am more than good enough. I did a great job. I have 3 clients I'm coaching right now, Mohammed, who came to me and they said, I want to coach because I have the imposter syndrome. Oh my. So one of the first things I have to teach them to do is when someone gives you a compliment, what are you supposed to say?
Thank you.
Thank you. And they won't. They won't own it. And so odd as it sounds, as simple as it sounds, the first step to get over imposter syndrome is say, thank you for noticing, or thank you for letting me know I appreciate that. And I had one client actually say, the third time we've gone around on this, she said, but then I have to own it. I said, yes, because you are the best.
Yeah. It's important. I think we don't see that self-worth. And, for those of my listeners who don't know what we mean by imposter syndrome, most of the time, your clients, they are that good. They do own it. But somewhere along the lines, they were told they weren't good enough, or they told themselves that they weren't good enough. And so they're constantly not feeling that they're good enough. And therefore, they don't think they're good enough.
Right.
Right?
Right. And the person who suffers from the imposter syndrome feels like they're a fake and they're going to be found out.
Right. I still live with it. I still tell myself sometimes, oh, but am I really good? Or did I, right? And I think, I share that because I want people to know that those mountain lions, we could be at the highest summit feeling like we own it. And then we'll see that mountain lion, or the memory of that mountain lion will come back to haunt us. And so it's important that we teach ourselves to always feel good about ourselves, to believe in ourselves, so that when those fears, self-doubt, start pouncing on us when we least expect it, we've got this skill to be able to say stop and then launch into our sentence to tell us, oh, you're good. You're damn good. Like, you're doing a good job. You're
You're
not bad at
more
all.
than good.
You're worthy. You know, and thank you, you know, Melinda, for reminding me of this, because, you know, a lot of time I get asked, oh, your Unfiltered podcast, who's your audience and who do you speak to? And I said, you know what? I speak to everybody. Yeah, I know we're looking at those leaders in an organization or in a community, or somebody who is on the fast track to becoming the CEO and so forth. Great. I want those people to listen. But I want to go basic and say, when we're unfiltered, when we remove all the masks of ingenuity, of disingenuity, when we feel authentic, when we can say, I am good enough. I'm good enough for myself first.
Right.
Right? And I'm going to be good enough for others, because I'm going to grow, I'm going to learn, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to get right back up. And it's that resilience that I'm building. And what parent or partner, husband, wife, whatever relationship you're in, whether it's with a significant other or your child or your friend or a coworker or your boss or somebody that reports to you, or an interaction with somebody at the grocery store who doesn't need that reaffirmation that we're good enough.
Right.
We all do, don't we?
Right. Everyone matters.
And so most of the people you're speaking to are, let's say, CEOs, people that you're coaching, but your message is very universal, isn't it?
It is. And let me tell you something. I wrote an article, I write for Forbes, and I wrote an article on how to ace your interview, basically. And this young man called me. He said, I know you don't work with someone like me, but I've passed the bar exam. I've been interviewing for 8 months and I never get a job offer. And I said, of course I'll coach you. Well, I can't afford you. I said, well, let's see what we can work out. And I coached him 4 times and he got 2 job offers. And the reason I tell you that story is, and I told him after he called me and said he got the job, I said, yeah, you're an executive. An executive knows what they don't know, and they know who to call, and they pick up the phone and they take action. Right. And I said, here's my definition of leadership.
Oh, you read my mind.
I told him this. Leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a greater good. Leadership is the mindset in action. You don't have to wait for the title. Leadership isn't anything someone can give you. You have to earn it and claim it for yourself. So I told him that. I said, so you will go far because you picked up the phone and you asked for help.
Love it. It's a mindset. And the first thing that you called upon is, it's about others, but it's also for you to claim. No one is going to give you a title that you put on your office door or your home office door that says leader. And, and I think the times that we get that title, we're going to fight to keep it on our doors, because you've got to earn it. You've got to show it every single day in every interaction. And I screw up many times. I like to think that I have a leadership mindset and a heart set, right? I'd like to think that I've connected my emotional intelligence and my intelligent quota and I can serve others. But there are times where I just screw up. And you know what I tell myself? So I'm trying to get better and get over this imposter syndrome and grow and learn. It's okay. But own it. So when I screw up, whether it's with my wife or my child or my coworker or any sort of interaction, I screw up, I'm not forgiving enough, I'm not good enough in my interaction. If I can own it, then I can fix it. Leadership isn't about being perfect.
Right.
And I think that, right? A lot of the time we think, oh, I'm a leader, therefore I can't be wrong, and I have to have all the answers. And who, during COVID, had the crystal ball with all the answers? What can you tell me? I mean, you're coaching people still during this pandemic. What are you telling them? What does success and perseverance look like?
Okay. I really believe successes and failures are not measured in dollars. but in lives saved. Today, we need to have leaders who create a positive attitude and promote harmony. And be creative and listen, whether it's an organization or leaderships of countries. You've got to listen to your council. You've got to listen to the people. You have to be mindful that there's a need here, and let's focus on everyone matters, and let's reunite as an organization, because there's too much division, right?
There is. I mean, today's political climate, the pandemic environment that we're living through, we don't feel like we're together. We say we're stronger together, but look what happened when, you know, we kind of started coming out of the woods and the nicer weather came. We took away any sort of bonuses that essential workers were having, and we started treating them back at the minimum wage rate, right? We said, thank you for helping us out when we needed you. You were our essential workers. But you know what? The weather's nicer. COVID isn't as prevalent right now. Let's take away the $2 extra we gave you in the winter months. Guess what's going to happen when we hit our second wave and those people are stocking our shelves so you and I can eat? They're going to become essential again, right? Leadership is about consistency. It's about always recognizing that people matter. People matter more than profits. And, you know, it's important because, again, I come back to what you're sharing with us. I don't like the cliche, but allow me to, and I hope people will be forgiving when I say this, because I don't believe it. When they say behind every great man, there's a woman, I believe that beside every great person is somebody who can be the reflection, gender neutral, right?
Right.
But I think it's important. And the reason I bring up that example is we don't recognize the importance of having a mirror, of having someone who will coach us to get to a better place. So this isn't, I'm not trying to say why people should have coaches, but this is why we need coaches. This is why we need leaders who can guide and be a reflection, because they're going to tell us when we're screwing up and when we can do better. And you know, how do you have that conversations with the people that you coach so that they can become better coaches with the people they lead?
Oh, you know, I'm really blessed because I've got great clients. And Carl Jung said there are no accidents. And I took that to mean whoever's supposed to work with me is supposed to work with me. So one of the things during this COVID is I brought awareness that a couple of things. One, they needed to have short, quick meetings to get the team together so everybody's seeing each other, to keep morale up. I brought awareness that someone in your team or in your organization could lose someone to COVID or has, and to be sensitive, because I wrote another article after COVID came out, how to handle grief in the workplace. And one of the comments was from this woman at the C-suite level in a Fortune 500 company. She goes, wow, we don't talk about grief in the workplace. You really opened my eyes. And I had reminded her that one of her team members in Paris had gone to that concert with a friend, and her friend died before her eyes in that bombing. And she had arrived there the day after to work with her team. I said, you needed to be very well aware of the grief this woman was in.
Right.
And so I brought awareness to grief. I'm really bringing awareness how to handle your team, especially with the social distancing. We're social creatures. And people, as much as they thought, oh, working at home, this is great, well, they weren't getting what they needed. And so with creative ways to bring that camaraderie back. I even have clients have happy hour virtually and have someone make a, a signature drink for everybody and send the email of the ingredients to everybody. Just these things to keep morale up, to keep some normalcy in the workplace. Because nobody likes change. This was a drastic change for everybody, the world. And what we needed to do was not go fear-based. The opposite of fear is love.
Love that.
So you have to stay in a loving space. In fact, one of my favorite quotes by Carl Jung is, your vision will become clear only when you can look inside your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens.
Wow.
And so you have to, so one of the things is just do a self-check. Where is my self-love today?
Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. I love that. And I don't think that the intention here with dream as in the aspiration, it's more of the lack of reality, right? It's only a dream, it's not real. Whereas when we can start looking inside of us, we're going to awaken. And awakening, so maybe we can grasp that dream and make it real, right? I'm going to challenge you here. I'm going to be one of those naysayers. Come on, love. Don't talk to me about love. I'm one of those leaders. I'm a boss. I need to get work done. We need to talk about meeting quotas and getting our sales, EBITDA. And don't talk to me about that other crap. I mean, who talks about love at work? Who talks about grief? We're here to get work done. We're not here to talk about your feelings. Okay,
Mohammed, I'm going to be a keynote speaker at this event virtually.
All right.
And the title of it's called Channeling Your Feminine Power in the Face of Adversity. And not feminine in gender. So here we go. One of my slides in my deck is an arch. These are the masculine energies. These are the feminine energies. And then at the top is this cute little infinity bringing the two together. So in the masculine side is linear, logical. On the feminine side is creativity, imagination, passion. So here's my answer to you. All the mathematics in the world would never have gotten us to the moon. That's masculine. We needed the creativity. We needed to imagine. We needed the passion. Okay? Leonardo da Vinci, amazing mathematician, masculine energy. What an artist. So we need them both. There's nothing wrong leading with love. When I was an intern, my supervisor was great. And I was very new, starting my private practice. And I had this young co-ed, and every Monday morning, he never got done what we decided, and he failed every week. So one Monday, I got a little snarly, and I decided I'm not going to listen to him failing again. It's the same story every Monday. It's like Groundhog's Day. So he comes in, and he starts telling me the same story, and I said, stop. I said, you know what? You're really successful at one thing. And he sits up. He says, what's that? I said, failing life. He goes, oh, you're right. I said, so just do it consciously. Don't come in here and do it unconsciously. Own it. You're choosing to do this. Well, then he leaves. And I run into my supervisor's office. I said, I'm going to lose a client. He goes, sit down. What'd you do? And I told him what I said. He goes, oh, he'll be back. He'll be back next week. He said, do you know your most powerful tool as a psychotherapist? I said, no. He goes, you love your clients. You can lead with love and people know you care. You don't have to talk about it. However, you better be aware if someone's performance has been up here and then it drops, you better best go ask them what's going on in their life, because there's something going on with their performance dropped. And that actually happened to me. I had a CEO of a hospital wanted me to administer the EQI 2.0 to the CNO, Chief Nursing Officer. Okay. Under 15 competencies, Mohammed, she didn't hardly score on any of them. I'm thinking, CNO of a hospital? Something's wrong. My very first conversation with her, I said, what's going on? These aren't your true scores. She said, my husband is dying of cancer and I'm his only caretaker. So my tagline is coaching with an iron fist and a velvet glove. Well, Melinda picks up the phone, pulls down the velvet glove and punches the CEO through the phone with my iron fist. I said, are you kidding me? You never asked her? Okay, that's leading with love.
Right. Leading with love means we sometimes have to make hard decisions. It's right. It's hard decisions sometimes, right? You know, earlier when you were talking about, you know, the masculine and the feminine, right? And I love the way you showed the infinity. And, you know, you talk about EQI, and, you know, that's something I'm familiar with. So it's again, for the listener, this is a tool where we can measure the emotional intelligence based on different competencies, right? But at the end of the day, it talks about balance, striking a balance between our different competencies. And I want to go a little further. And the way you've explained it, this infinity of bringing our masculine and feminine together is such an integration as opposed to just a balance, right? It's recognizing that we're only completely whole when we can recognize that, look, we have a Y and X and Y chromosomes, right? And I think correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a med student here, but what decided our gender was one such chromosome, right? I think it's just having an X and Y chromosome, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, it's one chromosome, right? So the thing is, we are almost perfectly balanced or integrated between our masculine and our feminine, but we try to run away from that in life, like with so many of the things that we need to own. We need to recognize that these are what makes me whole. It's part of being the mother and the father, the male and the female, the yin and the yang. It's bringing it together. And we do this for ourselves, but when we do that on teams as well, when we can look at our teams and bring the different components, the strengths and the weaknesses that we visualize between ourselves, recognize that you'll bring value because you're creative and innovative and right. And I'll bring value because I'm analytical and, you know, I want to get things done. So it's a matter of recognizing that we don't have to tear ourselves apart because we're different. We can bring ourselves together. And again, that's so powerful because the only thing that brings you together is love. Fear will push you apart. It'll start out with ignorance. You don't know what you don't know. And you can go two ways. You ask a question and you learn, or you go the other way and you build hatred because fear will end up rearing its ugly head in hatred. But if you decide to learn and be curious and lean in, you will lean in and you will learn to love. And when you say that fear, you know, the opposite of fear is love, it's not courage. It's learning to love. And I think that's so powerful because today, in the absence of not knowing everything, whether it's the pandemic or whether, you know, you're in a workplace where you don't know how to behave, lead with love.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you know, I come back to this, you know, why I'm talking about being unfiltered. It's if you're so busy putting on mask after mask, creating different personas of yourself at work. I have to be this tough boss. I can't go and ask her what's wrong because her husband's dying of cancer. Well, that's her problem. Or I care, but I don't know how to show her. But I need to learn because not showing will end up being ignorantly cold and hateful. But asking what I can do, if there's anything at all, is leaning in with love.
Right. Get curious. Ask questions. You know, CNO, I'm curious. What's going on? Because you've always performed up here and now you're not. Open-ended question. Curious. You want understanding. Wow. Is there anything you need from the hospital?
Right. Now, when you are coaching clients and they tend to be, I'm going to dare and go there, they tend to be more on the masculine, and here I'm not talking gender, but I'm talking on the analytical, and right, it's all about facts, it's profit driven. How do you get them to lean in to become more wholesome?
Well, I give them the example of going to the moon.
Right.
And I give them the example of Leonardo da Vinci. I give them the example of Kennedy, JFK. We're going to the moon.
Right.
Passion, creative, imaginative. He didn't know how we were going to do that. He had no clue. But he ignited the entire country.
Right.
That was all feminine power.
And he ignited everyone he worked with. I'm not sure if you told me this story, but he went up to the janitor and he said to the janitor, "What do you do?" And he said, "I'm helping to get somebody on the moon." And so great leaders will inspire everybody. They won't hold people back because of where they are in the organization, because, you know, they're not seen as important enough or big enough or having a big, you know, a huge clout, right? They will go to everyone. And, you know, this brings me back to what we're experiencing today with essential workers. We recognize essential workers were valuable to us because of the difference they made in keeping us alive. Not keeping the society working, alive, right?
Mohammed,
right? And
we need the diversity that we have. We all can't be the CEO. We need the janitor.
Right.
I don't understand well, let me retract that. When we look at everyone matters, when we look at nature, there's not just one kind of tree. There's not just one flower, right? You know, to me, inclusivity is in the feminine power, including you're needed here. You're valuable. We value you. That's not measurable. Masculine power is visible and measurable. Feminine power on the surface is invisible and on the surface, not measurable. So when we look at diversity, you know, we need to take conscious actions of understanding, conscious actions of appreciating with an open mind, interdependence, humanity, cultures, environment. Would it be awful if we couldn't go have Thai food? Would it be awful if we couldn't go have all these different kinds of cuisine?
Right.
If we only had McDonald's, that'd be pretty boring.
And the funny thing is, when you talk about diversity, is the female power is sometimes seen as the latent or the weaker, right? I mean, for the longest time, we called women the weaker sex, and female contributions were always deemed to be less. But and women tend to be more emotionally intelligent. But I think that's a huge strength building factor. Heck, I went in with my wife when she gave birth to our 3 kids. If God wanted men to have children, he would have given us the perseverance to do it. But he gave that strength and courage and resilience to the female gender. And I have to say this, I'm a spiritual person. I think God knows where he put his power. He really put that power in the female gender because of that patience and flexibility and the resilience for, you know, the female gender to be able to withstand the difficulties, right? And that's where I see when, what you're able to do as a successful coach is to have people recognize that it's okay. And that language for tough men in the workplace, and most CEOs right now tend to be men leaders, right? Talk about diversity, white men leaders in positions of power. Also, men who aren't in touch with their feminine part and who can't say this hurts or I don't know. And when they make a mistake because they can't admit their vulnerability, guess what happens? Business mistakes happen, costs go up, there's no trust. So it's very valuable and much needed to have these discussions in a workplace. Isn't it, Melinda?
Absolutely. That's why I'm looking forward to doing this talk in November.
which is? Tell me more about it.
Well, it's November 4th. It's I'm a keynote speaker for an organization. There'll be about 180 women there, all virtual. And let me just piggyback on you. There was a study of 2,400 organizations, and the study revealed that there was just one female on the board. Just one. Net worth increased, equity increased, innovation increased. Why do you think that is? So in the end, whatever they were bringing was measurable or is measurable. And I believe it's because they replaced competition and brought in cooperation, strong relationships, mutuality, and pushed aside being competitive. And you're going to be more innovative if it's not, I'm going to beat you at this.
Right. When we can sit back and listen and let people weigh in, we'll get greater buy-in. And when we look at the differences as something that makes us stronger, not weaker, we're going to have more creativity and innovation. And in the workplace, when we can invite that creativity and innovation, we're going to be able to come up with better products, better ways of getting things done. And so we need to invite that. And here, I think it's important to call out, Melinda, that we're not just talking gender. I don't think we're taking a punch at male leaders. We're taking a punch at the inflexibility of people who are in leadership positions, not to embrace being completely whole in both our female and our male contributions and makeup. Right? We don't have to put on that mask. We don't have to feel like we're an imposter. A woman in a leadership position doesn't have to act like a man to get things done and be respected. And a man who has to become an embracing leader has to lean in and listen to the people that he's leading. I call it role modeling and not role playing, because a lot of the time we walk around pretending to be those people that are called leaders. And at the end of the day, it's a bunch of BS. It's not authentic, and it doesn't, people will read through that. So how about we call out the link to your conference, and when I share this talk, I'll make sure to let people know so that they can tune in. This is open to the public?
No, it's to
okay. Okay, well, there you go. All right. Well,
but I shared the goodies already.
Well, I hope that we'll get you back on in the future, and you can share with us some of the learnings that you took away from that conference. I want to ask you, this is where I turn around to look at my guests and I say, Melinda, if you could give one piece of advice to my listeners, I call it the unfulfilled thought of the week. What is one piece of advice to help them become more integrated leaders, better people, better human beings?
I would say, if you're a leader, smile more. Tell people every day what you appreciate about them and their contribution, even if it's just the janitor, and I don't mean just the janitor. and listen more. Listen for what's not being said, because in that you will learn something and have a better read on the emotional tone of your organization.
And it's normally that emotional tone that sets the precedence for how things get done effectively. It builds trust and teaches us that we matter.
Right.
Thank you for sharing your insight today and your heartfelt intuition and expertise. And I really appreciated you bringing the smile that you did to the conversation. So it was really enlightening having you on. And I look forward to future discussions with you. Thanks for being my unfiltered guest today.
Thank you, Mohammed.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for listening to Unfiltered, the show about authentic leadership and personal growth. Like what you heard? Click subscribe, share it, and tell a friend about it. And don't forget to leave a rating.